Your thoughts are the single greatest force shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. The way you think can either set you free or imprison you in your own mind. Every decision, every emotion, every action, it all begins with a thought. Here's the truth. The quality of those thoughts determines the quality of your life. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, depending on how you manage it. The thoughts you choose to entertain, the stories you tell yourself, they're creating your reality every single day. The question is, are they working for you or against you? Picture this. You and I, sitting down over a cup of coffee, just two people trying to figure it all out together. If you're anything like me, or like most people, there are times when it feels like your mind has a life of its own. The doubts, the worries, the constant chatter. It feels like you're just along for the ride, stuck inside your own head, right? But what if I told you that you do have the power to change that? You can learn to guide your mind instead of letting it drag you around. How often do we feel overwhelmed by the noise in our heads? It's like we're passengers, with our thoughts at the wheel, taking us places we never planned on going. The stress, the anxiety, the overthinking, it can feel like a storm we can't escape. But what if there's another way? What if I told you there are tools, some ancient, some modern, that can help you take back control? Imagine being the captain of your own ship, navigating through the rough waters of life with a calm, steady hand. You're not being tossed around by every wave that comes your way. That's the promise of mastering thought control. It's not magic, it's a skill that anyone can learn. You don't have to live at the mercy of your thoughts. There are practical techniques that can help you steer, direct, and ultimately master them. And once you start, there's no turning back. You'll see just how powerful you really are. Let's begin with something simple yet profound. Mindfulness. It's an ancient practice rooted in Buddhist philosophy, but it's just as relevant in today's fast-paced, chaotic world. In a world where our minds are pulled in 1,000 directions, social media, work stress, endless to-do lists, mindfulness isn't a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. It's about being fully present in the moment, without letting your mind drag you into the past or project you into the future. Sounds simple, right? But in practice, it can be one of the most transformative things you can do for your mental clarity and peace. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts without judgment, like watching clouds pass by in the sky. You don't need to hold on to those clouds or chase after them. You just notice them, let them drift by, and breathe. This act of simply watching your thoughts without reacting creates space. It gives you room to breathe and regain control. Your thoughts stop being the master of your mind. They become like guests passing through. Buddhist teachings on impermanence emphasize that nothing in this world is permanent, not even our thoughts or emotions. They come and go like waves on the ocean. So why do we give these fleeting thoughts so much power over us? Why do we let them control our mood, our actions, and how we see ourselves? Here's something to think about. If we're not our thoughts, if they're just temporary experiences, why do we let them hold us hostage? How many times have you found yourself spiraling into a loop of worry, only to realize later that it was just a passing thought? But in the moment, it feels like the storm will never end. Let's make this real with a simple example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Your mind starts spiraling. Frustration, impatience, maybe a little road rage creeping in. You think, why me? Why can't these cars just move? But what if, instead of getting lost in that frustration, you practiced mindfulness? What if you simply noticed the feeling of frustration, acknowledged it, and let it float by like a cloud? You'd be in control, no longer trapped in the cycle of frustration. Now, mindfulness won't make the traffic disappear, but it will keep you from honking at every car in front of you and adding to the chaos with your own stress. You'll be calmer, more in control, observing what's happening inside your mind and around you. And that, my friend, is real power. By practicing mindfulness, you'll start to realize that you are not your thoughts. They don't define you. They don't control you. And once you truly understand this, a profound sense of freedom follows. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or frustrated, take a deep breath. Observe the thought and let it pass. Remember, you're the sky, and your thoughts are just passing clouds. While mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts, Taoism offers another approach. Don't fight your thoughts, flow with them. Instead of standing rigid against the current, Taoism encourages us to move with it, adapt to it, and trust that life will guide us where we need to go. This concept is called Wu Wei, which translates to effortless action or non-doing. But don't get me wrong, non-doing doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting in harmony with the flow of life, rather than fighting against it. Think of your mind like a river. When you try to control the current, forcing it to go in a particular direction, you create turbulence. The harder you try to push, the more chaotic it becomes. But if you let go, if you allow the river to flow naturally, it finds its own path, smooth and steady. Your thoughts work the same way. When you stop trying to control every thought, when you stop forcing your mind to be still, a natural sense of calm will emerge on its own. Laozi, the ancient Taoist philosopher, once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." There's deep wisdom in that. The more we try to control things, the more we limit ourselves. But when we let go, when we surrender to the flow, we open ourselves up to endless possibilities. In this state of non-resistance, we truly come into our own. Imagine this: instead of resisting your thoughts, what if you allowed them to flow naturally? What might you become? What could you accomplish if you stopped fighting against the current of your mind and started flowing with it? We often think the only way to get things done is through force, through control. But Taoism teaches that real power lies in softness, in flexibility. Here's a relatable example. Have you ever tried forcing yourself to fall asleep? The more you tell yourself, "I need to sleep, I have to sleep," the more restless you become. But when you let go, when you stop fighting the insomnia and just relax, sleep comes naturally. The same goes for your mind. The more you force it to be peaceful, the more chaotic it becomes. But when you flow with your thoughts, peace emerges effortlessly. Of course, flowing doesn't mean losing direction entirely. It's about finding balance, knowing when to let go and when to take control. So, the next time your mind feels turbulent, ask yourself, how can I flow with this instead of fighting it? You might be surprised by the answer. While Taoism teaches us to flow with life, Stoicism offers a more structured approach. Use your rational mind to take back control. The Stoics, particularly philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, believed that clarity and peace come from understanding what is truly within our control and what is not. This is the heart of the Stoic principle known as the dichotomy of control. According to the Stoics, we can't control what happens around us, the weather, other people's opinions, or the outcomes of external situations. But we can control how we respond, our thoughts, our actions, our perceptions. That's where real power lies. How much energy do we waste worrying about things we can't change? Meanwhile, we often neglect the one thing we can control, our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoics knew that trying to control the uncontrollable only leads to frustration and suffering. But when we focus inward, on mastering our own thoughts and reactions, we tap into a strength that no external force can shake. Imagine the peace we'd gain if we stopped trying to change what's out of our hands and instead focused on shaping our mindset. It's not easy, but it's liberating. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the master of your inner world. Let's take a common scenario. Someone makes a rude comment toward you. Your immediate reaction might be anger, hurt, or the desire to snap back. But here's where Stoicism steps in. You can't control what that person said, but you can control how you interpret it. Maybe their comment doesn't reflect your worth at all. Maybe it's just a reflection of their bad day. You get to decide what meaning to give it, and in doing so, you reclaim your peace. Marcus Aurelius didn't have to deal with Twitter trolls, but I bet he'd have a lot to say about staying calm in the face of negativity online. The Stoics remind us that while we can't control what others say or do, we can always control how we react. By focusing on what's within our control, our thoughts and actions, we can live with more clarity and resilience. So next time you feel overwhelmed by something outside of your control, pause. Ask yourself, can I change this? If the answer is no, shift your energy to what you can control, your mind. Here's where it gets even more interesting. According to existentialism, not only do we have the power to control our thoughts, but we are free to create meaning from them. Existentialism teaches us that, while we may not control everything that happens to us, we have the freedom to decide what it all means. This freedom brings both opportunity and responsibility. We are the authors of our own story. Take a moment to really think about that. Every experience, every thought, you are the one who decides what meaning it holds. It's both empowering and daunting. The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre famously said, "Man is condemned to be free." What he meant is that freedom comes with the weight of responsibility. We can't blame outside forces for the meaning we give to our lives, because that responsibility falls entirely on us. So, if we have this freedom to create meaning, what kind of life are we shaping? Are we choosing interpretations that lift us up, or are we allowing limiting beliefs to hold us back? Consider this. When we experience failure, we have two choices. We can see it as the end, or we can see it as a stepping stone. That choice is ours. For example, if you didn't get the job you wanted, or a relationship didn't work out, you might think, "I'm not good enough, and this proves it." Or you could say, "This failure is just a stepping stone. It's pushing me to grow and to find something even better." The meaning you choose will determine how you move forward. The beauty and challenge of existentialism is that meaning isn't inherent in the event. It's something you create. The situation doesn't define you. You define what it means. In today's world, we've taken these philosophical ideas and turned them into practical tools, like cognitive reframing. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely used psychological approach, is based on the idea that our thoughts influence our emotions and behaviors. By reframing those thoughts, we can change how we feel and act. Essentially, it's about choosing to see things from a new perspective, a perspective that helps rather than harms. Reframing works by challenging the automatic negative thoughts that often pop into our minds. These thoughts are usually exaggerated or irrational, and they cause us unnecessary stress. But here's the good news. We can consciously shift how we think about a situation. Instead of letting negative thoughts spiral, we can ask ourselves, is this thought helpful? If the answer is no, it's time to reframe it. Here's a strategy. When a negative thought hits, ask yourself, what's another way I can look at this? Shifting your perspective can transform a stressful moment into something manageable or even humorous. Let's say you spill coffee on your shirt right before a big meeting. Your first thought might be, this is a disaster. Everyone will think I'm unprofessional. But with reframing, you could think, well, I'll definitely make a memorable first impression. Suddenly, the situation feels lighter. Reframing doesn't change the event, but it changes how you experience it. You're no longer trapped by a negative narrative. You've taken control of your mind and shifted your perspective. By practicing cognitive reframing, you train your mind to find positive or neutral interpretations in situations that would normally cause stress. It's another way to take control of your thoughts and transform your life from the inside out. So how do we put all of this together? Whether it's mindfulness from Buddhism, flowing with life from Taoism, rational control from Stoicism, creating meaning through existentialism, or reframing our thoughts with modern cognitive techniques, we now have a set of powerful tools to control our thoughts and change the way we experience the world. Each philosophy offers a different perspective, but they all lead to the same core truth. We are not helpless bystanders in the chaos of our minds. We have the ability to influence, direct, and shape our thoughts in a way that brings us peace, clarity, and strength. Now, the question isn't whether you can control your thoughts. You absolutely can. The real question is, will you? Will you take what you've learned here and start applying it? Will you observe your thoughts, flow with life's ups and downs, use rationality to stay grounded, assign empowering meanings to your experiences, and reframe negativity into opportunity? Take a moment today to reflect. Observe your thoughts, question them, and see how much power you truly have over your inner world. You might be surprised by what you discover. Thank you for listening. I hope this resonates with you, and I'd love to hear how you've started using these tools to take control of your mind.